Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity?
Hello, I'm Jessica Calvello.
And we're very excited to have you on the show with all of your hyperactive, sugar high.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I wonder, do you just down pixie sticks as soon as you get up, or like what's your caffeine secret?
I used to be a total sugar whore. Sorry, I said whore, but I used to be a total sugar whore because I was like, oh, I'm hyper, and especially in the studio, like I would always have like Skittles on hand, and I was always like drinking a Coke, and then I would do like a line of Coke on the side just to keep my energy levels up. I'm just kidding, I don't really do Coke. But then I realized that if I don't do any of that stuff, I'm still just as hyper. And I really I am a total, I love tea. And so I'll drink tea pretty often during the day. So that does have a lot of caffeine, but I really have laid off the sugar. So I don't know what's wrong with me, but I know I'm a hyper one. That's true.
Well, I mean, tea is really good for voice actors. I've always heard to avoid caffeine though because it dries out your throat.
This is true. This is true. And so when I'm like, I'll do the tea in the early morning, and I usually don't have early morning sessions. Dear God, I've had a few of them, and that was interesting. So when I'm in the studio, I'll tend to do like the herbal stuff and the non-caffeinated stuff, unless I'm really desperate, and then I'll just double fist the water and the lewd. But I'll have the water going, and then the herbal tea going, and that way I can just be really, really liquefied. So.
Well, there we go. I just love your phrases for things. They're perfect.
Yay! I know. There's always like a double meaning to them, even when I don't try.
Well, hey, that makes it unexpected.
Yeah, and then it's totally expected. So,
Well, for the fans out there, a lot of our fans actually don't know what interests you in acting because you've been a part of the business for quite a few years.
yes, quite a few years. That's true. So, do you want to know how I started the whole acting thing or just voice acting or
Well, let's go in order. What initially got you into acting?
I started actually tap dancing, ballet dancing at the age of 4. And so I started performing on stage as a little girl and just always loved performing, and dance continued. And then I started singing, and then I was formally in acting classes by age 8 and piano, and I just love performing. And so did all the plays, and then got into high school, and then went ahead and college, kept studying theater, and was a theater arts major at Texas State University in San Marcos, and received my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting, which um, serves you well if you do want to be an actor, and then if you decide that you don't, then you should get another degree. But anyway, it was great for me because I wanted to study it, and just started just doing all things performing, no matter what it was, film. And then so after my degree, I moved back to Houston and kept up with had an agent, and commercials and industrial films and student films, and then still doing musicals on stage and those kinds of things. And then I fell into ADV Films in '95, and got my first gig with them. And I think it was Blue Seed. I always want to think it's Evangelion, but it wasn't. It was Blue Seed because Amanda had let me play like a few bit parts in that. And then my next one was Evangelion, and I had 3 really big lines. One of them was, "The doors are now closing." It was a very important line. And then from there, I went on to do some of the larger roles. So I've kind of just been doing it my whole life. I've always loved it. So there you have it.
Well, I gotta say that your line is very important in Evangelion because we don't want anybody to get hurt in that show.
I know, and I had to tell everyone the doors were closing, because what if they would have gotten stuck on the other side? It would have been really bad.
Or what if the doors closed on them? That would
That
have
would
been even
suck.
worse.
It would have been
Yes.
really awful.
But I know the fans really know you for your role in Excel Saga because I'm going to assume at this point that that character just matches you so well.
It does. and it does for reasons that shouldn't be. But yeah, she's something. And I think that's probably my most well-known role. And then of course any role after that that's somewhat hyper or insane or off in any way, people say, oh, that's just like Excel Saga, when it could be a totally different character, but because there's that hyper element and that fast, spitting out those lines really, really quickly, then I'm like, it's Excel Saga. So it's kind of a thing where it's like, it's not Excel Saga, it's a totally different character, but then it's not necessarily a bad thing because people really did seem to enjoy that show and that character. So
Well, you did have some serious characters through the years as well, so.
I know, it's like no one knows them. But that's cool. That's all right.
Hey, I can think of a few. I just think Excel Saga kind of sticks out in people's mind because even though we know Japan, stereotypically for being weird, like if I go to Japan, I'm just going to see a bunch of weird things. I think for a lot of anime fans today, Excel Saga is the first thing where they were like, this is weird. This is definitely from Japan.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you really think that's why it caught on the way that it did? Is because it was like the first of its kind?
At least for a Western audience, like the first that people saw something that was insane, almost like sort of South Park. If you allow me to make the comparison, when people see South Park, it's so insane it can get away with so much, and I feel like Excel Saga can do the same.
You know what? I totally understand what you're saying. And Excel Saga does get away with everything, and it does it within some kind of weird. It's still within like these weird lines that are actually invisible, but they're still like a line. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but then you're like, oh, but that's still funny, and it's very confusing. A long time well, when I was working on it, I was like, I'm just gonna have to, because we would stop every once in a while. I'd be like, you've got to explain to me what is going on. Why? What is the across thing? What is the taking over of the world? Like, she's starving. She needs a job. Like, she's trying to eat a dog. Like, please explain to me what is going on. And there's just no way to really explain what's going on. It just is.
I just see the director looking at you and shrugging, like,
That's pretty
okay,
much
and take three.
exact, like take seven, and yeah, there. And but sometimes he would try to explain it. He'd be like, okay, well at this point, but there, I don't know, it was like a weird kind of logic. It was like, okay, I can kind of see that in this strange realm of Excel's world. Okay, I'm gonna have to just go with that. And then of course there, I'm just, I was lost most of the time anyway. And then even going back and watching some of it, I'm like, nope, still doesn't make any sense. All right.
Then that means it did its job at being,
I
crazy.
think so. I hope it did its job. That's
But
funny.
like you have a lot of energy and you're very hyper, and obviously you can kind of just scream at random. So I don't suppose losing your voice is ever a problem for you in the booth, or is it?
Well, Jackie, speaking of Excel Saga, um, so normally it's not a problem. But if you're having me scream for 4 hours a day, uh, for quite a few days in a row, and then not giving me ample breaks, then that's going to be a problem. So, and we did run into that with Excel Saga. So that whole situation was really unfortunate. In the beginning, it was discussed. What do I need to be able to maintain this insane level of vocal, nightmare. We talked about the kind of voice she needed. We didn't want to deviate once we picked it. And so before I really accepted the role and everything, I said, I got to have a 6-week break in between volumes so that I can actually heal, because I knew that I would be shredding my cords. And ADV said, fine, 6-week break in between volumes, and these volumes were between 35 and 45 hours to record. I mean, the first, God, and people don't believe me when I say this, but I wrote it down in my anime diary. Back in the day, I wrote this down. The first 4 minutes of that show in the first episode took me 8 hours. Now, granted, things were done differently back then, but that was 2 full days of recording for 4 minutes. And that's the part where she's really like, I'll rip my skin off and I'll vomit and I'll, pee myself, and like there's tires and all this stuff flying out of her mouth. And so it was really grueling, but this is the kind of, recording that I was up against. So, and at the end of the whole, well, not at the end, but I went in to record for the fourth volume, and sure enough, because the 6 weeks sort of turned into like a 4 weeks, and then that turned into like a 3.5 weeks, and then there was like a 2 week break, and I wasn't in full vocal power. So, an ADV said, look, we can't adhere to, what we had said, where we would give you a 6 week break. Our production schedule is way too tight. That's what he said. Yeah, I'm going to give myself a lewd card for that right now. And so they just couldn't do it. It just didn't work out. And of course, you can't like create a voice when it's not there. It's not like I had, a cold and I had to sort of wait for that. It's, you lose your voice. And then in 6 weeks I was fine, but they had to go on with the work. And it's so funny. I got so many, emails and letters, and people were like, "Oh God, we heard you lost your voice. Oh no." And I'm like, but again, I was fine in 6 weeks, and even people now with me sort of coming back into all the social medias, people are like, "Oh, so glad you're back after you lost your voice." I'm like, that was in 2001. And I never stopped. I mean, I stopped working for 6 weeks, and then I went back to, Media Blasters and Right Stuff International and Central Park Media and all those companies I worked for in New York, because I was living in New York at the time, and, flying back to do Excel Saga. So that was the whole thing. It normally doesn't happen. I usually work with really respectful directors. Chris Ayres is one of my favorites. He'll be like, we've been going, how you holding up? I'm like, oh, I could use a little bit of a break, and, done. It's done. And again, the recording schedules now, they're not the same as they used to be, and the way things were done back in the day. I sound like I'm 90, but it was a totally different industry back then.
Well, I was going to say that because you did kind of mention it, the technology was very different. I mean, today you've got Pro Tools and you can just shorten, trim it, tighten it up, whatever. I guess that's what he said. So,
Giving you a lewd card.
but no, it just seems to me that with the technology advancements, things have gotten a lot easier.
Um, yeah, I think so. I mean, so I'm I'm starting. Oh God, I feel 90. But so I'm going to a couple of conventions for the first time since 2002, I think. And I'm going to be giving a panel called Old School Anime, and it really goes into how back in the day, again, I'm like 90 with my oxygen tank near me, but it used to be that they would call you and they'd be like, "Hey, Jessica, we've got a part that we'd like you to audition for, and come by the studio, pick up a VHS tape. It's got 2 episodes on it." Because that's all it was back then. I mean, anime had 2 episodes on it, and it was really hard to get. And so, now there's no subtitles on it, but there's time code. We're going to give you a script. We don't really have an adapted script, but we have a script that's been, it's raw translation from the Japanese. So just kind of follow along with the script and the time code and just get the character. And so I'm looking at this script, which of course it's a raw translation. So I'm saying things like, I'm reading like my cat ate the stomach to your qualms, and I'm trying to like, what does that mean? And of course, you get the adapted script back when you're finally in the studio, and the line is, "I have a bad feeling in my gut about getting into a relationship with a furry." Like that's an adapted script. But
I
like,
think everybody has a bad feeling about getting in a relationship with a furry, but continue.
well, if they don't, they might want to. I mean, not that there can't be a good relationship with a furry. I mean, let's be open. But so you're looking at this rawly translated script, and you're trying to follow along and get the character, and that's kind of what. And then you go in for the audition, and then you're prepared, and nowadays it's either, I get a call and it's like, "Hey, I've got a part I just want you to do. Are you available for, this many hours on this day? Can you make it in?" And you just go in and you just try to hit the sync, and you just try to do it. Or, I might get a call or an email, we are going to hold auditions for this. You know, here are the sides, the scripts, and we need you to send us back WAV or MP3 or 44, you know, whatever they need. And then you send those off and you hope for the best. You hope you got something right. And so it's totally different. And then actually I'm talking a lot, but when you're in the studio, it's also just a lot different. Like some directors will work where they play it, and you're just furiously looking from script to picture, and you're trying to hit the sync, and they don't stop. You just keep going until something, you just have to stop, or until there's some sort of technical bubble or whatever. And then there's some studios that still like to do it line by line. You know, here are the tones, there's your line, stop, the engineer fixes it, then you move on to the next line. So it's a lot different now. The industry is different, the process is different, the audition process is different. The relationships with furries are different. You know, it's
Well,
just,
hey, there's places for them. They got conventions and they've got, festivals and things like that. They're good.
I want to go to a furry something. I just want to be a fly on the wall, or I don't even need to be a fly on the wall. Like I just want to go and like hang out and just watch things.
Well, for all the fans out there, now you know where to suggest her as a convention guest. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know that they would want me as a guest, but but I would put on some like cat ears. I used to wear little cat ears and a tail and little feetsy things to a couple of the cons. There's pictures out there of me like furry-esque. So I can play along and enjoy that, I guess.
Well, nowadays it's crazy because they have movable cat ears. I don't know if you've ever put these
What?
on. Yeah, like they react to your brain waves. They move based on your mood,
Oh
essentially.
my God, you
They're
are
like
kidding me.
They're like $60 or $70. I believe they're like Nico Mimi brand. I'll send you a link to it as soon as we go to break. But it's funny because I actually tried these on at Anime Vegas, not last year, but the year before, which was the first I'd ever tried them on. And apparently it takes them longer to respond to a girl's brain, I guess, because it's more complicated. I don't know.
Are you
But
serious?
that's what the guy was telling me. It's like a headband you put on your head, and then you put this little thing on the front of your forehead, and then after a few minutes they kind of calibrate or whatever, and they start moving with how you're talking. And they'll lower if you're sad, or they'll perk up if somebody says your name or things like that.
Oh my God. I had to live tweet that because that is fantastic. I want a pair.
I will link you, I promise you.
That is so awesome. Gosh, what will the furries come up with next?
I think the same company is actually developing some sort of movable tail, but I don't know the details.
Oh boy, the things I could say to that.
Well, before we hand out five lewd cards, let's go to a short break here on 91.8 The Fan, but don't go anywhere. We're going to touch upon Attack on Titan and a few other things, so keep it tuned to your favorite station, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Hey, everybody out there, you're still tuned to 91.8 The Fan, and we're having so much fun during the break, we just didn't want to come back.
It was fun.
Well, I remember there was a duck and some other
There
things
was,
you said, and that's
there,
about all we're going to say.
there was a duck
Furries, look at what
involved.
you've done to us.
Furries, look at what you've done. Oh, they can't look because there's no video.
Oh yeah, there's that. Well, anyway, for the fans out there, obviously they're super excited about the role that has been everywhere on the internet. I can't go anywhere on the internet without seeing the announcement, which is a great thing. So obviously, I'm talking about Attack on Titan. So can you tell us a little bit about your character?
Yes. So Hanji Zoe, who I see a lot of people call her the mad scientist, and I have to agree. I love this type of character that there's a comedic element to it. There's an intelligence to it. She's smart, and she's really off, and she's really bizarre, and I love her fetishes. I love that she can't wait to get her hands on anything that she doesn't understand. And of course, that would be Aaron, that would be any of the Titans. And I just love her passion for that, and she's so much fun to play. was a real dream come true to be cast as Hanji because I'm a total Attack on Titan fan. I mean, I'm a complete dork for the series. I was watching it as it was coming out along with the rest of the world, and I remember saying to myself, God, I don't even know who's picked this up. I don't know who's got the dub. I don't know when it's going to be dubbed. I don't know anything about it, but I sure would like to play that Hanji because that is awesome. And so just getting the chance to audition, I was like, oh man, this is really, I can't believe this is happening. And so then of course when I got the call, I screamed so loud. I probably busted Mike's eardrum out. I mean, I was just out of my gourd. I was so excited, and it's been a lot. She's a lot of fun.
That was the time when Mike was like, "Okay, I'm gonna need some earbuds when we go into the studio." Just oh my ears bleeding. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But no, I could imagine how a scream over the phone would just be like, "Oh God, that was a decision."
Yeah, it was. And I did try to contain it a little bit, but I was so excited, and then I had a bunch of margaritas that night, and that went well. Um,
Except until it became morning, and then it didn't go well.
yeah, it was that was a little painful, but it was so worth it. And yeah, I just think the show is so great and so cool. And we were saying on break that I haven't seen too much anime. I mean, I like it, but I really like good film and I like good music. And so when it's like, well, do you like anime? Well, sure, I like good stuff. I like do you like what kind of film do you like? Well, I like anything that's good. So I like comedies and I like I love art films and I love documentaries, but I really gravitate toward the dark stuff. Which for whatever let's not analyze that. I mean, my favorite show is Breaking Bad. It's a freaking genius from beginning to end. And I just like the darker stuff, and I love dark comedies. Now, Attack on Titan is not a dark comedy, but I'm so lucky to be able to play a character that has a comedic element to her within a very dark world and dark circumstances. I mean, that's like everything that I love right there. And not that I wouldn't have been happy to play, any of the other roles because it's chock full of really wonderful characters. And again, you don't want to, no spoilers, but you don't want to get too attached, just like Game of Thrones. But
Or Evangelion.
or Evangelion, or yeah, or God, the My Hime kicked my ass. I mean, of course, the ending of that kind of. Well, I don't want to. Have you seen My Hime?
I have, yes. So I
Okay.
have a
Well,
feeling I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
oh God, that hurt me. Oh my God. And then things changed by the ending, and so I felt a little bit better. But so it just girl, I don't even know what I was talking about. Really? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm curious because I think the way Funimation revealed the cast list for Attack on Titan was really neat. I love how they built up the hype for it. Were you familiar with how they did it? Did you watch out for it?
Yeah, basically what they did was really clever. I thought it was a great idea too. They sent us, I got an email from marketing, and it said, here's how the announcement for the cast list is going to go down. We're going to have, I think it was three or four cast announcements before we reveal who's playing the lead, and that will be revealed at Anime Boston. But so basically, you got an email with a schedule in it, and the schedule was like, your character will be announced on this day, and you are not allowed to say anything until 5 p.m. So basically, I guess it was announced on some of the Funimation, like the special subscribers site, and I just made them sound like they have Down syndrome, and they don't, but like I guess there's like a special like
The elite subscription users.
okay, not Down syndrome. I'm not making fun. I'm just like I said special, and I thought, well, that didn't come out right. So yeah, the elite members. So that I think that went out at like 10. So like all day, I'm like watching on Twitter and on Facebook, people are congratulating me, and I can't say anything until 5 p.m. And at 5 p.m., we received a further message from marketing that said, okay, we're going live with the announcement. Feel free to feel free to go nuts. And then of course I was just completely annoying because then I could answer back all the twats from Twatter from the rest of the day and finally on Facebook talk about it and be really excited about it. But yeah, basically all day I was like, I can't, and I was even scared to acknowledge and like anyone's comment or retweet anyone's twat on Twitter because I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. So it was very, very organized, very calculated, and yeah, really, really clever. And I loved reading some of the comments on those announcements where people were like, "Stop! You're killing me! I want to know who plays all the people now." But they loved it because it did generate that interest and really got people going and talking. And I loved seeing what people thought about who was going to play who, and there was so much talk about who was playing Aaron
Oh
and it
gosh,
was
some of the stuff I saw for Aaron was hilarious because so many people thought it was like this big A-list celebrity, like Ewan McGregor's gonna be Aaron. I was just like,
right.
yeah, okay, sure, yeah, okay.
I did not see that. That is awesome.
I saw some of those. Like people were like, "Well, it's not going to be Greg Ayres because people were dissecting the Anime Boston guest list, and Greg Ayres came out and said, 'Hey, I'm not this character.' And who else is left at Funimation? Is it somebody totally new? No way, they're not going to waste the announcement on that." And so everybody was like, "Has to be something super big." And some of the suggestions I saw were hilarious.
Who else besides Ewan McGregor did you see? That's so funny.
I saw somebody suggest, what is it, Hugh Laurie from who used to be on House, and I was like, "There's
Hugh
really."
Laurie.
Like, why are people even suggesting these?
Like he'd be great for Aaron's dad, but as
I
far as
know.
like doesn't make any sense. That's awesome.
I think the other one I saw on Tumblr, I forgot his name, but he was Jack from the Rise of the Guardians, and he was in the lead in the Star Trek films. I think it's
Oh,
Chris Pine or something along those lines. I'm not sure.
okay.
I'm really bad with like on-screen actors, so I just care about voices. I don't care about faces.
Totally fine. That's great. But yeah, I mean, it was really really fun the way they did it, and so it was pretty cool. Definitely the first time for me to be announced like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it seemed like the reception was really good too. I really like to, as a fan who hasn't experienced the show, because the most of the show I've seen is essentially Tumblr syndrome, and I don't know if you're on Tumblr, but if
I'm
you
not.
follow enough people and you get all this stuff about anime, you can kind of dissect like big plot things that happen. Oh, okay, that happened. You go by and it's like the spoiler to the end of the series, and you have no idea. You know, so
Oh, that would drive me crazy. I hate spoilers.
I probably know more about Attack on Titan than I should for someone who hasn't watched it, but for somebody who hasn't seen it, seeing the reaction to the cast was really nice.
That's really cool. And I'm not on Tumblr and I feel like I should be, but I'm like, if I get on one more social thing, I am just never going, like, something's going to have to go. It's going to be sleep or food or fapping. I don't know, but I don't want to give up any of those things. So I'm like, I don't think I can be on Tumblr. I don't know.
Well, I don't think anyone wants to give up that last one. I'm just saying.
Right?
I mean, guys like to say, or science like to say that it's a guy thing, but girls like that time too.
Girls like it. Some of them just don't want to admit it because they want to be like, I'm a lady. I don't touch myself. Whatever, you touch yourself.
Wasn't there a song about that from the
Yes,
80s?
by the Divinals. Yes, I was in high school. I can't believe I just admitted that because you were probably not born yet when that song came out. But when that song came out, girl, there was controversy because that was like a very naughty song.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I was born in 1991.
Okay, so you were oh yeah, no, you're not. I don't even have a response because I'm upset. You weren't born when that song came out. I was right, and I'm gonna go in the corner and cry with my furry duck.
Well, at least the duck will comfort you, I guess.
What did you say?
I said at least the duck will comfort you, I guess.
I'm gonna give you a lewd card for that.
I'm trying, but
Oh my
I will say that I think you would be perfect for Tumblr because there's so many pictures and so many animated GIFs and things like that that it's like, if you're distracted easily, it would be a perfect way to get distracted even more.
God, girl. Well, I will say introduced to not to 4chan because I've known about 4chan for a while, but I was recently introduced to a nice little area of 4chan called Space Sticks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go forward with it. My friend Anthony brought that to my attention, and he normally brings me to a lot of interesting things. And that is a world that you just have to experience, and I don't really know what else there is to say about it.
Well, since we're sharing some interesting stories, I wanna advise the chitlins out there to take off your headphones for a little bit. But when I used to work at a game store, it was called Game Tag. It was about 5 years ago. I had this boss, and he was super cool. His name was Rob, and like he knew that I was into anime and Japanese video games and things like that. So after I worked there for a year, he had always made like lewd sort of jokes, but eventually he started asking me about certain things in Japanese porn as if I knew.
Oh,
Like, what is the shampoo that they use in Japanese porn, or like that slimy stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, they
it's
don't
it's
teach me
it's
that in my anime.
I think it's Cetaphil, to be honest with you. I
Well,
shouldn't know that, but I think it's Cetaphil, and that's hilarious. What was this game store that you worked at?
it's out of business now. It used to be called Game Tag. They actually got rid of the one in my area, and then they partnered up with like I think it was like Ultimate Electronics, and that's gone now too. So yeah, they don't exist anymore, which is kind of sad.
Oh God, that's so funny. I love that he made the assumption that because you are into anime, that obviously you're also into tentacle porn or whatever.
I got I'll admit right here on air, tentacle porn kind of creeps me out, guys. I'm just saying.
But no judgment to anyone that likes to fap to
Right.
it because that's okay.
If that's your thing, but don't imagine me watching tentacle porn, I guess, please. It's not mine. So anyway, for the listeners out there, since we were talking about social media a little bit, what social media can they find you on and tell their children to never go on?
Oh wait, you're talking about my pages, right?
Yes, yes, you,
Yeah,
not me.
I do recommend if you're under 18. But they're public pages, so you know, and I don't put permissions on my public stuff. So I'm on Twitter as my name, Jessica Calvello, and I seriously love playing with everyone on there. It's so much fun, and I'm not always lewd, you know. There's other stuff that I like. I just have a really twisted sense of humor, so of course that always comes out. And then I have a public Facebook page, and again, I think if you just put my name into Facebook, that comes up. And I also have a YouTube channel, and I haven't done anything with it since February, but I started working with Team Four Star, whom I freaking love. Oh, those guys are so talented, and so my first my first show with them was Helsing Abridged. Helsing Ultimate Helsing Abridged. Wait, Helsing Ultimate Abridged or Ultimate Helsing or Abridged Ultimate of the Helsing Ultimate Abridged Ultimate.
That Helsing thing Team 4 started doing.
That one. So episode 4, Rip Van Winkle, surfaces and does the Rick roll, the Rip Van roll. And so there were a lot of requests after they released that for the full version of the song. And I was talking to Curtis about it. I was like, hey, they really want a full version of a song. So I just went ahead and recorded it, and I put it up just as a fluke because it made me laugh. I really didn't know, and it was a one take. I mean, I was just kind of playing around in my studio, and it was I think it was just like a one take thing, and I threw it up, and oh my god, people seem to really like it. So then they're asking for, can you do winter wrap up, because of course that's a line in episode 4, like, oh god, at least she's not singing about the winter wrap up and the wrapping of the ponies and all this. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll sing Winter Wrap Up, and I'm not going to spoil that one if you haven't seen it, because that one goes to a very interesting place. There's no ducks. But so yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. Again, it's public, it's YouTube, and I just have a couple. And then of course kids take off the headphones, but I have my latest song, which is Strangers in My Ass. And people have asked me, what is your inspiration for
Oh God. Why would anyone ask that? Like you could just imagine it and come up with 1,000 answers.
There are so many answers, and my response to it actually isn't lewd at all, because I don't know why I came up with it and decided to destroy a beautiful classic that Frank Sinatra won a Grammy for and the songwriter won a Grammy for. I just started singing. Actually, that song happened at a rehearsal for a play. I don't even remember which play it was, but I just started "Strangers in My Ass." I don't know where it came from. It was just wrong and inappropriate. And so I've had that song in my head for like 10 years, and it just finally had to come out. And so, anyway, YouTube channel is just a lot of fun. And then I'm on Googly Pluses, and I'm probably on there the least. But
Everyone's on Google Pluses because YouTube forces us to be on Google Pluses. I still
right?
have I still have my original YouTube account that's not connected to anything. And like they keep asking me every week, "Hey, you want to switch this? Do you want a Google Plus page?" No, I don't. And then it signs me out and then I have to log in again. Like it's torturing me because I'm not getting the Google Plus page.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know that was like it was like a forced thing.
Yes, sadly. I'm shaking my fist angrily at Google. You can't see me, but
Shaking my tiny fist at you. Well, that's kind of obnoxious. Not you, but Googly Pluses.
I was about to say, oh, well, you know.
No, no, shake your fist. You're right. I totally hear you.
But no, I hope that we can see maybe a Tumblr from you in the future because I think it would be a perfect avenue from you. But are there any events that you have coming up that you'll be attending, whether they're furry conventions or not?
Well, hopefully there's a furry convention in my future. I am confirmed for Anime Southeast, and that's I believe May 9th through the 11th in Tennessee. So that'll be my first one. I was supposed to go to a HaleCon this past January, but everyone knows I got the plague, and that was God, January. That was a month. So going to Anime Southeast, can't wait, and then going to Colossal Con. That's going to be in June. That's I think June 5th through the 8th in
That is
Ohio.
aptly named for your most recent role. I'm just throwing it out there.
I know, right? I mean, the puns are going to be out of control. Colossal Con, Colossal Titan, Colossal Hanjay. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this too. And there's a couple of other conventions I'm talking to, but I'm not completely confirmed yet, so I don't want to say. But
As long
yeah,
as everyone prepares their colossal loot card, I'll be happy.
yeah, I am definitely gonna rack up. And I was warned. I was like, Anime Southeast, not as lewd, a little conservative. I don't mean politically, but just, maybe a little bit more just calm. Whereas Colossal Con, like, I can totally, like, just, well, I'm going to be myself no matter what, unfortunately for most people. But apparently that one can get a little rowdy. So I think we're going to do, like, an anime uncensored panel, and I guess that's an after hours thing. I'm hoping to get those at both of those conventions because I really do have. I mean, yes, I'm lewd and inappropriate and all of those wonderfully twisted, horrible things, but there are also things that happen to me that are not my fault. That like just weird con things and weird studio things that happen that inspire, other stories and whatnot. So I like to tell those, like, just things that happened at cons that shouldn't have happened. Just like really, just fans being just colorful and all those kinds of things. So and those stories aren't always appropriate in the earlier conventions, the earlier panels at the convention when there's kids present and stuff. So.
Well, I do want to say, I hope, because this is now a dream of mine, I hope one of your fans cosplays a lewd card and takes a picture with you.
Oh my God, that would be so freaking awesome. Well, you know what? I was handed one by Summers. Why I'm remembering his last name. Wait, Joseph. Joseph Summers came to the premiere of Maria Hollick at oh girl, I am blanking. The Anime
It
Draft House.
can. Okay,
Anime Draft House.
I was about to say a convention far, far away.
No, I just called it Anime Draft House, but Alamo Draft House, at an Alamo Draft House far, far away in Katy, and he had made a lewd card and he handed it to me and I wasn't even doing anything. But of course, then I had to. And then Monica and I got a little racy. But I was so happy. I probably shouldn't admit this, but I carry it with me everywhere I go just in case I can whip it out and be like, lewd, like this is me and this is you and this is us and this is a connection. But yeah, I actually carry that lewd card. He laminated it. It was so smart because you got to laminate the things that are important to you in life. You shouldn't laminate your cats or anything like that. But, laminating a lewd card was a good idea because it doesn't get roughed up in my purse, which I carry like far too many things. And so, yeah, I was overjoyed when he handed that to me. I posted about it a million times. I was so excited about it.
That sounds really exciting, and I'm glad to know you always have it with you just in case the situation arises.
I know, right?
But for the listeners out there, is there anything else you want to tell them about? Any projects that recently came out? Anything you're working on that you want to promote?
Of course, but of course I can't talk about them. I've got something I'm going to be in the studio for in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to say the location is Houston. So, got something I'm working on there. And then I do have, I can't wait to talk about this. I do have one project coming out. It's not anime, but it is voice. It is animation. And I can't wait to release that information. It's such a blast. I've had such a ball so far. And I'm still getting work from that particular, company. So I'm hoping that continues. And as far as other things, expect some more, parody songs or just, songs from me and my ass on the YouTube channel and just, continuing to connect with everyone on the social medias. And I just really, really have such a ball. If I've had like a bad day and I log on to any account, I mean, it's really cool when someone's like, hey, I watched your performance and Maria Hollick and it made me laugh and, you're insane. And, I really appreciate all of the passion you put into your voice work. And, that makes me really, really, really happy. Because I do it for two reasons. I do it because I love it and I'm selfish and I like the way that it makes me feel. And then I also like the way it makes other people feel because in return that makes me feel good. So again, it's selfish, but it really makes me happy when someone's like, you added something to me by the work that you do. I mean, that makes me feel like better than all the lewd cards in the world.
Well, since we're nearing the end of this interview, I was wondering if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
I probably should have peed first, but what is it?
We basically ask if you'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Yes, I would be happy to.
The trick of it, however, is that if you mess up, everybody gets to hear it.
That will probably happen.
Yeah, I've got my bleep button ready, just in case. But basically, we ask if you could say, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can put whatever you want there, characters, you're a voice actress, whatever. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Okay, that was a lot of dialogue for me to remember. I don't have a script in front of me with a highlighter. Okay, so I have to say who I am, what I do, and then
You're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
I have to write this down. You're tuned into 91.8
The Fan. Yes.
Okay. Oh my God, really?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna try to do what you just told me to do.
Okay, well, whenever you're ready.
Do you have any direction to give me?
Be yourself.
Oh God, that is bad direction. I'm just kidding. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry, I had to prep myself. Okay. Hi, this is Jessica Calvello. I do a lot of interesting things with my voice, and I'm really creative and fun. And I just wanted you to know that you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan. Hail 91.8 The Fan! man, Excel, love you. Is that okay?
That was amazing.
I
You
like.
were all freaked out, and look, it wasn't that bad.
Well, I sounded like a twat before, but that's okay. You told me to be myself, and that tends to happen.
I'll give you a gold star instead of a lewd card this time.
Yay! I got a gold star. That's awesome. And I think the fact that I didn't pee kind of helped push like the intensity behind the read. So it's good. I'm gonna hold on to my pee for longer now, just to get that. Actually, I do that in the studio sometimes. I'm not even kidding you.
I was about
Sometimes
to say you might want to tell directors that secret.
I do, and sometimes it doesn't work. They're like, I really just want you to pee because we have a lot left to do. I'm like, no, no, no. I know we have a lot left to do, but I need to hold on to it for a bit because it helps with my, like, you know how, like, okay, I'm gonna make this, I'm not gonna, okay. You know how, like, some athletes, like, the night before their big game, like, they're not allowed to fap? Because, like, to keep the testosterone and, like, make sure their performance is, like, high level and, like, yeah, or whatever. Well, for me in the studio, it's like sometimes I don't want to pee because I have that extra, like, intensity. I'm being serious. Like,
No, I
I
mean,
should say that I'm kidding.
as a fellow girl, it makes sense to me.
It does. That makes me happy because I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm saying this.
I mean, for me personally, I'm generally pretty good at keeping my energy up, for example. So if I'm hungry or if I haven't gone to the restroom before an interview, I am super distracted during the restroom or during the
Oh,
interview. Like especially if I'm hungry, because all I feel is like, oh my God, my stomach's rumbling. I really want to munch on something, but I'm talking. I have to talk. Okay, I'm talking. We're discussing stuff. It's really bad.
no, and I absolutely get that way if I'm hungry. But for some reason, full bladder means, intensity.
Well, good to know. And for the young voice actors out there, you should try it. So,
That's my inspiring. That's my, hey, do you have any advice to give to aspiring VAs? Yeah, don't pee before your session. Just,
well,
try that.
there's your words of wisdom, which we usually ask at the end of the interview anyway. So instead, do you have any dating advice, weather forecasts, our predictions for the end of the world?
Oh God, you never ever want my dating advice, so we're gonna skip over that one. Um, Weather predictions, grabbing my boobs right now, just like in the movie with the Mean Girls. 40% chance of rain, so that's good. And end of the world. End of the world is coming at some point. No idea when that is. And as far as other advice, I'm just gonna say don't give up on your dreams. There's a lot of I see a lot of I don't want to say kids, but just people that really want to be in the voice acting industry. And I see like a lot of that. They're like, oh well, I just want to be a voice actor. I don't want to be an actor. I just want to. I just want to be a VA, and they'll take voice acting classes. But the thing is the only this is my opinion, but the only voice classes I think that will help you, just anyone, in a voice career, are the commercial voice acting classes where, like, specifically for, like, okay, you want to do commercial voiceover, you want to do industrial voiceover, narrative voiceover, because that is a different beast. And I think that those can be very helpful. The voice acting classes, I don't feel that they're as helpful if you're not in it to be an actor. So what I would always suggest is take the acting classes. If you take acting classes and you focus on being an actor, you don't necessarily need voice acting classes because you've got the acting classes behind you. And then what comes out when you're voice acting is your acting, and then your voice just sort of, does what it does. That's just my opinion though, and I'm not, saying that, people shouldn't take or do them or whatever, but I'm just saying that, focus on being an actor, and then the voice acting will come. So those are my words. And
No, I agree. So, for the fans out there, I think that's really good advice for them.
oh, good. Yeah, I know that there's people that disagree with me. I might get some hate mail over that. But it's truly, I mean, that's just me being honest. And actually, nothing drives me crazier than, I mean, like, I don't understand this, but no matter who I talk to, like I was talking to a lawyer. He was a lawyer. It was at a party, and um, we were talking about what we do. This was years and years ago, and I was like, oh, I have my acting degree and I'm an actor. And he's like, oh, it wasn't. What do you do? And I'm like, oh, I've done some film, done some stage. He's like, oh, that's very cool. And I'm like, where did you study law? And he's like, oh, I studied here. I'm like, oh, that's very cool. We're sort of talking about the industries that we're both in. And then he's like, oh, well, what other acting do you do? And I said, oh, well, I'm also a voice actor. He's like, oh my God, how do I get into that? And I'm like, it doesn't matter who I talk to. As soon as I mention the voice acting, and then the next thing he said was, I have a really interesting voice, and I think that I'd be a really good voice actor. And it's not because he's a lawyer that makes me not think that, because I don't think that has anything to do with it. It's the whole like belief that you have an interesting voice and therefore you can be a voice actor. And then he's like starts hitting me up for like, well, what studios do you work at, and like how can I get in? And I'm like,
Oh God, that must have felt really horrible.
well, it happened. It actually used. I mean, I haven't been to a con since 2002, but it used to happen all the time at conventions, and a lot of the
I believe
aspiring.
it still does to a certain degree because we actually have a panel on how to talk to voice actors, and we have a big section dedicated to, hey, stop trying to give them your demo, or stop trying to be like, hey, I can do this really funny voice that impersonates so and so, you want to hear?
Yeah. What convention is this at?
Just just various conventions throughout
Oh,
our,
really?
yeah.
That's really good. Like, and I wouldn't right. So like I've been out of the convention scene for so long that that's really cool because that is my pet peeve. And I don't. It's not my pet peeve that someone's interested in it or that they someone legitimately like they want to pursue that career, but for someone just to be like, well, how do I get into it? Oh, do I take voice acting classes? It's like, no, that's actually not how you do it. And I'm not an expert. I'm really not. I mean, I think that whatever industry you're in, you should always be growing, and you should, I haven't in a long time, but I still would take acting classes and workshop classes because I'm always trying to grow in the craft. But it's that whole thing of, well, how can I get into it? And oh, I've taken a bunch of voice acting classes. I'm like, well, have you taken acting classes? So, girl, that drive me crazy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it really drive me crazy.
Well, I mean, from my perspective as somebody who's, approaching the business as well, and I don't want to be all big-headed, look at me. But one of the things I wish I could tell people more often is to try something more adaptive to what they enjoy. For example, I don't have a lot of acting or group classes that I can go to physically in my area. So one of the things that I've been doing is we play tabletop games all the time during the staff meetings and things like that, or well, after the staff meetings. We don't just do meetings just to play tabletop games, I promise. So, we'll kind of almost use it for anyone who's interested, just as an exercise to be like, okay, let's see if we can stay in character, for the entire hour, or let's see if we can do this for the entire duration, or this. It's almost like in a really fun like improv session, and they've been really great exercises, even though there's no central teacher.
Oh, that's very cool.
So I've been doing that because that's just fun for me, and I don't have a lot of options available to me. So I think if a lot of people are serious out there and you don't have a lot of options, you can find, a community, or you can find friends and you can drag them along, and even drag them along without telling them what you're doing. It makes it even better.
Yeah, the element of surprise. I think that's really cool. I mean, one of the hardest things, just to build upon what you said, is try to stay in character. I mean, there are times like in the studio where, um, or on, not even just a studio, on stage. I mean, just as a creative person, whatever you're using your temple for, your temple, your voice and your body, and then or your body and your body, or you're singing. It's really easy to be distracted by something, like if you're hungry or if you have to pee, to fall out of character. And so I think that exercise that you do with your group is really, really cool. And I think that's really interesting. I think that that's really cool that you do that.
Yeah, it's just something available to me because, I have taken some voiceover classes too, and I was
Mhm.
in theater, but like I was in theater like, I don't know, like 6, 7 years ago. Like, so, yeah, I don't know, sometime a long time ago. So for the classes I only get to take here in real life with people, it's maybe two every 2 months or so. or something along those lines. So just to get more practice to do something else, like it's continuous practice, it feels like to me.
Yeah. Now, what were your voiceover classes like?
The voiceover classes that I've done so far have all been in a group. The only one that hasn't, which isn't technically a class, has been Kyle Bear's private workshop, which has
Uh-huh.
been one-on-one, which was really nice because I could just ask him questions about the industry and figure out kind of where to go from there.
Right.
And we mostly just practice commercial reads, and then we practice at the very end some animation reads, which for me was actually my biggest struggle because
Really?
yeah, I actually have I've never attempted like reaction sounds or death screams or anything. And so for voice wise, my biggest problem is that I was trying to do it, but just do it. But I didn't know how I would sound and I was thinking too much how I was going to sound, so nothing came out, you know, good. I had to later, take 2 weeks and just practice dying and jumping and things like that and listening to myself and hone in on what sounded believable to me and kind of go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. You know what? You've just really said something that is so poignant because when it comes to all those fight scenes and those reacts and those exertions and all those things that you're doing, it's true. If you think about it, it's not going to be authentic. And I've caught myself every time, like, you know, maybe I'm momentarily distracted or I go, now wait a second, I saw, okay, there's like a jump and then like a turn and then I get kicked in the face and then I vomit. And instead of just, and yeah, and that has been some of the characters, but instead of like looking at the screen and letting that organically just happen, I start to think too much about what I just saw, or maybe I haven't seen it at all yet, but whatever. The point is that like I'm in my own head, and then it comes out, and then me and the director are like, yeah, that actually that was not what we're going for. Just try that again and not think. So that's really interesting that you said that, and I really think it comes to being uninhibited.
Definitely. I think there's a lot that you can gain from literally just trying things that you've heard and then recording them and then listening and being like, I need to work on that, that, and that. Just so you have kind of a base. Because
Right.
I didn't have a base when we did the end of that, so I just kept struggling and it didn't sound right, and I knew I wasn't giving him what he asked. And that was really difficult for me because I was like, I know I can do it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong yet.
Right, right. No, and I think that's good too. I mean, to just you're working on something on your own and you are listening and paying attention to it, and then I think it just gets easier. And then as you start to do more work or your classes or rehearsals or whatever you've got going on, you, the work just starts to happen, and you do think less, and it becomes so much easier, and you forget like, wow, I used to struggle over this, huh? Well, it's not. I don't struggle anymore. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep. So I guess that is the voice acting wannabe section of the interview. We usually don't have those in our interviews, but there you go.
And I made you run like an extra 15 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. My shift doesn't end until 4. I could have you on for another 45 if you really want it.
All right. Well, I am not going to pee.
Well, because I appreciate your bladder's health and I think that it should, not be something you struggle with in the future. I think we should wrap up a little bit here. And hopefully we'll talk again in the future.
Well, okay. And I would love to talk to you guys anytime. You and Chris are freaking awesome. I'm a total fan of 91.8 The Fan. You guys have a lot of really cool people on, a lot of my friends. And so thanks for everything that you do because you guys put a lot of time and effort into the site. And you have a lot of listeners, and you should have a lot of listeners because you guys freaking rock.
Thank you. That makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I feel like a Care Bear.
Oh, you're my furry.
Oh no! Dang it! This
Yes.
this interview just came full circle.
It totally did come full circle. Now you are my furry. The end.
Well, for any of the fans out there, you can keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we have more guests and music and all that fun stuff. And if you missed any of this interview, don't sweat. It'll be on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to the website at 918thefan.com. Keep it tuned to your favorite station where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.